Good morning. It is July 25th, 2025, and this is OSU Turfgrass Team Times. We've had a little bit of a cool down early this week, and I think a lot of the professional turf managers were breathing a deep sigh of some relief as nighttime temperatures in the northern part of the state dropped down into the upper 50s, mid 60s. Now, further south, I don't know if it was quite as glorious as that. There was also some rainfall this week. But again, there has been very regionalized impacts from the rainfall this year in particular, and almost back to what we might consider a more regular Midwestern summer, where we've had higher levels of humidity and a lot more on the disease front, rather than the extreme drought conditions we ran into last year. Online this morning, we got the inimitable Pam Sherratt getting ready for Premier League season and upbeat Everton FC. We got Dr. Tyler Carr. Pam Sherratt, take it away.
All right. Good morning, everybody. As Dr. Nangle said, there was a cooling at the beginning of the week, but as you can see by the color of my face in Columbus right now, it is not cool. So I think we had a heat advisory yesterday, today, and we'll have probably another one tomorrow with the heat index. I think we're over 100, very high humidity, and some rain coming in this afternoon into central Ohio. And then I did see a forecast, which I'm very pleased about, which we've got a cooling coming in where we'll be in the high 70s and low 80s by the first week of August, which, folks, is the week of our field day. So that's good news for our field day, that will be a little bit cooler. Some of the extension questions I've had this week, or interactions I've had this week, disease and weeds continue to be the number one and two in the state right now. Crabgrass has gone crazy. We've got violets, we've got ground ivy, everything's taking off. With Dr. Gard not being on the post today, I would strongly encourage everybody to go back and look at the last couple of weeks of Dr. Gardner's posts, where he has talked about grassy weed control, another weed control. He will be talking about grassy weed ID at field day. So those of you that don't know your barnyard grass from your foxtail to your crabgrass and goosegrass and all the others, this would be a great session for you to come to learn how to identify those grasses, because each of them have different approaches to chemical control. So from a disease standpoint, I would just put a warning out there to sports turf managers this time of year, where if there's any kind of covers, tarps being used on fields for the rain, just be super vigilant that the conditions underneath those tarps are ripe for disease, to encourage disease. Joe Rimmelsbach, our pathologist, always used to say that if he wants to get diseases in the lab, you cover it in black plastic. So when we have these tarps on these sports fields, the conditions underneath are extremely hot, extremely humid, and can exacerbate the problem. And if you don't have a preventative fungicide on these areas at a time like this, putting a tarp on them is kind of the perfect storm for disease development. This time of year, we're predominantly seeing brown patch on tall fescue. You may see some pythium on newly seeded ryegrass and other areas. And then grey leaf spot obviously is happening in the state right now, earlier than we're used to. Obviously, I think that's just the sign of the times. But if you suspect any of those grass killing diseases, we do have a diagnostic lab that you can send a sample to Todd Hicks to get it diagnosed pretty quick. You can reach out to us if you think you have an issue. It's really difficult to tell those diseases apart. It can be really difficult to tell those diseases apart. So we're here to help you. We've got a diagnostic lab and we can offer some advice. If you are going to take photographs, please take photographs, not just of what it looks like from afar, but also we need to see actual, either the signs of the disease, like the mycelium or, the red thread, or we need to see symptoms of the disease, like, what do the leaf blotches look like? Do we have curling of the leaves? Does it look gray? Do we have the hourglass, classic hourglass of dollar spot, for example? So good photographs are key. Be careful with your tarps. Preventative fungicide. If you've got an important event coming up and you're worried, get a preventative fungicide out. Dew removal and good cultural management practices are also key. Be very careful watering. Make sure we don't have leaf tissue wet overnight for extended periods of time, particularly when the nighttime temperatures are so high. So all of those cultural management practices come into play too. And then lastly, I will just say, if you continue to have the same diseases and the same problems, take a serious look at the genetics of the grasses that you're growing on your fields. The plant breeding has come a long way in the last couple of decades as far as building resistance to some of these diseases. There's cultivars out there now that are more resistant to brown patch and grey leaf spot, for example. So research has showed us that you can, even if you just have 75% of the sward with resistant cultivars, you can significantly decrease the incidence of disease on your field. So take another look at the genetics. You can look at the the NTEP trials. You can look at the A list. You can talk to your seed supplier, but don't be worried about adopting and using new cultivars. All right, Ed, that's all I have. I'm going to just sit back now and try.
Hopefully not melt, Pam. Hopefully not melt. All right, Dr. Carr, can you follow that up, please?
Hey guys, glad to be back. I'm sending a request to share my screen, Ed. I'm glad to be back. It's been a couple weeks. Last couple weeks I was in Japan doing some turf tourism, and attending the International Turfgrass Research Conference. This is a picture of me with some zoysia grass in the middle of Tokyo. Um, Zoysia grass would really like the weather that we have right now in Ohio, but doesn't like the weather here for probably 9 months out of the year. So that's why we grow our cool season grasses, and we deal with the struggles this time of year. So it's a little easier the other times of the year. With field day coming up in a couple days, less than 10 days now, I wanted to tease one of the projects Brian Miller is working on. He's a grad student that started with me earlier this year in May. We're looking at autonomous mowing impacts on comparing autonomous mowers and conventional rotary mowers and how they impact weed populations. So this is just an area that's being mowed. You can tell that some of these areas have been impacted with disease like other areas that you guys are managing is high cut turf. And we're comparing a Husqvarna EPOS 550 versus a conventional rotary mower mowing at 2 or 3.5 inches. So the area kind of looks like this. And really what I want to point out to you guys is we're seeing some differences in crabgrass here. Let me back up. This area at the top of the screen, this is where Dr. Gardner does a lot of his crabgrass research, and it extended into this area that we're doing this research in. So this is a crabgrass hotbed, and so we've been mowing this trial for the last since May, and I'm just going to take us down to just one replication here. We have autonomous at 2 inches, rotary at 2 inches, rotary at 3.5 inches, and autonomous at 3.5 inches. And you can see this light green throughout here. This is crabgrass. And we visually have almost 2x the amount of crabgrass in the rotary mowed plots at 2 inches versus the autonomous mowed plots at 2 inches, and about 3x more crabgrass in the rotary mowed higher cut at 3.5 inches versus the autonomous at 3.5 inches. Now, the higher mowing height has less crabgrass, and this is what we would expect, but we are starting to see some differences within a mowing height. So this autonomous mower is mowing every other day, and the rotary mower is mowing to satisfy the rule of thirds, so to prevent scalping. So just a couple months, we've started to see some interesting visual differences. Over time, we're curious to see if we're mowing frequently enough with these autonomous mowers that we mow the crabgrass before it sets seed. And if that happens, then we may be able to reduce the seed bank, making it where there's less crabgrass plants available year after year. Because crabgrass seed doesn't really last a long time in the soil. After about a year, 50% or it's about 50% viable after 1 year. So if we can reduce the seed bank, maybe we can reduce some crabgrass incidents. But we're seeing some visual differences with these mowers. So this is one of the field day stops in the high cut track, the OSU OTF field day. So be sure to stop by, see the robot in action, and see how we're doing this work. So that's what I have, guys.
Thank you, Dr. Carr. Couple other things to point out. So the OTF event is on the 5th. Dr. Carr, Olga event is on the 6th. The Olga event is now closed for registration. And hopefully we'll have as good a year as we've predicted with the events, both of them. One thing that I want to promote or tease for our side of the OTF event is here. Now, I'm hoping everybody can see that. That correct? So we have two different materials that we're working with here. One of them is focused on soils, and the other one ultimately is focused on soils too. I won't tell you what they are. It is two separate stops. But if anyone guesses what we're working with between now and field day, before field day, maybe there'll be a prize gets sent out to the winner. But these two materials are definitely going to be in the more sustainable approach for managing turf, both on high cut and low cut surfaces. And so it's probably going to be something where we'll see an expansion of activity in the next 5 to 10 years, not just at OSU, but across multiple state universities that are involved in turf, as an increased awareness on sustainable management practices develops, both from our industry standpoint and from our customer standpoint. And so we need to definitely help with providing data in those instances. I will say that other than that, there's been a lot of growth of things like spurge in concrete cracks, and Dr. Gardner will tell you, and if you want to review some of the videos over the last few weeks, he will tell you that it may be too late to make some applications at this stage because they harden off and some of the herbicides just have limited effect. And so it may be the time now to start thinking about those fall herbicide applications, which he will start talking about. The other thing that people want to start considering, it is late July and August is coming. So if you are thinking about renovations, the aim would be next week to have a more complete discussion on what you need to start planning for with your lawn renovations, rough outline of timings, and what you need to incorporate as far as seed, fertilizer, watering, things like that. But at least if you are planning renovation and you're looking to bring in a lawn care company or a contractor to do that, you need to start calling them now because they are going to get booked up very quickly for a prime time for that process. With that, folks, we will keep it short and sweet.
Ed, I have, sorry.
Sure.
Well, since you and Dr. Carr plugged your research trial for the field day, I forgot to mention mine. So I don't have a research trial per se, but I do have a demonstration plot out this year looking at different germination aids. So mulches, and different ways that we can aid germination to try and retain moisture and keep the seed in place. So I'll have a demonstration plot out there. I have a tall fescue blend and I have an elite lawn mix to compare and with all the different mulches. So that's what I'll be doing on the OSU field day. So yeah, sign up and we'll see you soon, hopefully. Thanks, Dr. Nangle.
And Pam has some colorful plots too. A lot of colors this year. Dr. Carr, do you want to share a screen for contact details if we have questions? One other thing before he doesn't want to do that. One other thing, we have had an image, a couple of images come in this week. Rough bluegrass, folks, right now is miserable, right? If you have turf that's brown and matted down, and you think that it's a disease, maybe, but there's quite a strong potential that it is the species. Rough bluegrass is notorious at this time of year in the heat and direct sunlight for going dormant. And the problem with it is that no herbicide is going to remove it at this time of year because it doesn't take it up. And when temperatures and conditions return to being favorable, it again goes gangbusters and looks beautiful apple green, and it starts to spread. And so it's one of those species that we don't have a selective herbicide for. It's one that you either get at it early and start digging it up if you know what you're looking for, or you start to think about glyphosate as far as an option that's non-selective to re-establish the lawn, particularly if it's irritating you. With that, we will let you go. We will see you all next week. Thank you for your time. And if there are any questions, don't feel free or don't be afraid to reach out.